Welcome back to the lab. Listen, by now you all could probably teach me something, a thing or two, right? Listen, we're going to jump right back in. The thought that came to my head while we were away from each other, I started to say, sometimes we allow ourselves to stay in last place. Why do we allow ourselves to stay in the last place? Why don't we apply the principles that will allow us to soar ahead? All right. So let's pick up here. I think I want to talk about our chart right now. Let's talk about our chart. And you see that there's a heart, a mouth, and a brain, right? It's a heart, it's a mouth, it's a brain. So we've developed this before in the other lessons that we've done, or at least in the videos that we've created. We've definitely talked about the heart, the mouth, and the brain, the whole concept. Okay. So we could just say that if you go through the whole limbic system experience and the um, the amygdala, you know what it does? It uses fear to drive our efforts and our actions. It uses fear to keep us achieving the lowest. Okay. I want to say that when we are set, once we pass a certain stage, we are a system. Remember, we they say we're a heart, mouth, brain, because even the Bible will tell you that whatever you believe in your heart or whatever you perceive in your heart, it's what comes out of your mouth. A lot of people will say things, okay? It's easy to say anything. They could say, oh, I believe in this or I believe in that. But what's really true is going to eventually come out of their mouth. I can say I believe anything, but what I truly believe, it's what's going to come out. So I can give you a little bite because I'm always the one saying we're not going to complain and stay on skin tone and racial stuff. We're not going to dig into that. So I'll give you a little credit. If someone is truly prejudiced, they could say all day long, I don't see color, I don't see this and that, but eventually they're going to speak something that shows you that what's really here. And remember, as quick as I gave you the bite, we're going to take it back because we don't want nothing that's going to oppress us. See, we got to let go. We got to let go. Because see, when Harriet Tubman was fighting for us to be more free, for us to have more access to education that we seem like we don't even want, a lot of different people helped. It wasn't just African Americans that helped her. She was hidden by a lot of Caucasian and white people. She was hidden by a lot of other people. I wasn't there. Okay, I read the stories. And even without the stories, it's just common sense. Okay, in the Underground Railroad, she had a lot of support. Okay, so we can definitely say whatever we want to say, but we have prejudice in us too towards not just skin, but there's prejudice occur in many different ways. Maybe we just don't like a certain culture. And every time they speak, and maybe it sounds super rough, so that we just don't want to engage with them. That's a form of prejudice. If there's a food that a certain culture cooks and we think that it stinks or whatever, it doesn't appeal to our taste, and we use it and we, in our hearts, we criticize, we're like, oh my God, what in the world is that? That's a form of prejudice. So there's other form of prejudice, and so if we're going to talk about one form, we got to talk about all the others. Okay. I'm sure I've got my own. So the heart, mouth, brain, what you truly believe is what's going to come out of here. So we train our children to learn how to program we call it, we don't like to say program your brain, we program our minds, same difference, but program your mind for success. And you can't really trick You can't trick your heart. What's in your heart's what's in your heart. So we teach them, right? They start to say, I'm going to fail. Remember, if you look back at the overview, I told you some of the attributes that helped me develop my theory was when I heard my students speak in negative affirmations. Because I mean, you can just imagine how I was as an educator, you know? Not that I think I can't be wrong, but I feel like I'm very eclectic, and I've been told that. Like, I can come up with activities like that. I don't have to sit long to come up with a lesson to teach an amazing lesson. I just was good at that. But so I still don't want to see a chip on my shoulder. I just feel like I was really good in teaching and making sure when I taught, the lesson was solid. That's what I'll say. I felt like I was good at getting the child to understand. Nothing wrong with taking that credit. So I would always hear other kids saying it. Trust me, all the time I hear kids saying, I'm going to fail or I'm not smart. And sometimes they don't want you to put words like stupid and dumb in storybooks, but that's what the kids are using, right? They're like, I'm stupid, I'm dumb, I'm not smart. They say it. Where's that coming from? Because that's what they believe. That's what they literally believe. And so that's what comes out of their mouth. Like when they're not trying to, because they'll say what you want them to hear. But how do you really feel? It will come out of their mouths. Now, when you speak that I'm dumb and I'm stupid, and that's what they truly believe, guess what heard it? Right there. And when your brain hear that, your brain can't control you. You have to control your brain. Okay? That's why when we get back to talking about our lethargic friend, we got to talk about how you control a natural. Because to feel like they're dumb and they're stupid, sometimes that comes naturally. Don't sometimes you just feel like you're just not as smart as you want to be, especially when you see what other people are doing. You're like, dude, I'm not that smart. You know, I'm too big, I'm too thick, I'm too short, I'm too this, I'm too that. You truly believe it. And when you speak it, you program your mind to align. Because remember, your brain is what's going to get you to step and act and become active. Like whatever with your brain, that's what allow you to act and move, is what I'm saying. It controls your movement and action. Okay, we'll talk eventually about the part of the brain that's responsible for that. And I believe that has to do with the cerebrum that helps to control movement. And I think the cerebellum too deals with that, the cerebellum and the cerebrum, but we'll get to that when we get to that. But for now, when you say it, those portion of your brain, don't ask me to show you where on this map the cerebrum is, okay? Because I don't know. So cerebrum and the cerebellum, in their way, they will stimulate the movements. So if you're saying that I'm dumb and I'm stupid, what kind of movement is going to be triggered by your brain? Do you think it's going to make you go and pick up a book? No. You just told it, I'm dumb, I'm stupid. So the action that's going to line up with that type of thinking is you're probably just going to go binge watch some more TV. If you truly believe you're not going to pass a test and you don't even have a chance, and you say, every time I try, I just fail anyways. I mean, this test is way too hard. The teacher's ridiculous. I mean, no matter how hard I try, she's going to just give me some bad score anyways. That's what she just gives me, a bad score. Not that you earned it. She give me a bad score. No matter what I do, I'm gonna fail. And if I don't fail, it's gonna be so low, and I'm just gonna go back into this whole thing where I'm constantly trying and working hard. I'm doing the very best that I can, and I just keep failing. So if you're saying that, you think your brain's gonna make you pick up a book naturally? No, it's not. It's gonna make you sit there and binge watch. It's gonna make you hit the snooze button. It's going to make you go back and lay down. It's going to make you call out from work. Okay? Because that's what you're telling it. Okay? And then when you do that stuff, you're snoozing, you're calling out from work, you're saying everybody's horrible and that's why you're failing. You start to believe that. Come on, guys. You start to believe it. And here we go again, because that's what you believe. What's going to come out of this thing? And what's it going to do? It's going to travel back up to here. And do you see what's happening here? Do you see the cycle of subconscious programming? Yes. And that's what's keeping the children. I know they're kids, but we're human beings, and that's our system. That's how our system works. Even as adults, you see that you're stuck in the same cycle, the same process over and over again. You get a kickstart from your motivation and you get up and you start to run full steam ahead. But once that wears off, you're right back here. This is hard for people who are not well. It's hard. So I'm not even going to make a joke about that. You see, when you're not well, and sometimes even though you believe, okay, I'm going to be well, you might speak it a few times. I'm going to be healed. I'm going to be well. I'm going to get better. And then your brain believe, heard it. But after a while, you kind of lose the motivation. Remember, motivation is fleeting. It comes and it goes. Once it goes, you're like, child, I just can't be bothered. I don't want to walk anymore. They say if I walk, it's going to help. But I walked for 5 whole days. Am I healed? No. Ridiculous. Silly sickness is going to have me forever. I believe it. I'm going to say I'm never going to get well. I hear you. I believe it. My kids aren't going to get better or stronger. I hear you. I believe it. My marriage is not going to work out ever. We're all on our way out. I hear you. I believe you. Ba 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 ba. Subconscious programming. Okay. And children struggle with that as well. And the only way around that, the first step is mindset. Not sure if I showed you the book yet, but you remember the book, right? What you say is what you are. What you say is what you are. What you say, powerful. Life and death in the power of the tongue. What you say is what you are. That's what successful people do. Because see, you may say, yeah, but if you naturally just believe you're a loser, you can't trick it by just thinking, yes, you can. Life and death is in the power of the tongue. You see, I did this little commercial once, and I said, I'll get it. I said that if you feed it, it will grow. If you feed it, it will grow. What are you talking about? Faith versus fear. Remember, that's the natural process that's happening here, the amygdala. It thrives on fear. It just wants to protect you. It's not a bad thing. It really just wants to protect you. And that's the way that it protects you, is by keeping you away from new sensory signals that you're not familiar with. If you don't know what it is, it's going to try and kick it out. It doesn't want to get up in your brain. Okay? So you got to teach children this system. And like I said, a lot of schools, they do it, but it's inconsistent. It's inconsistent. It's got to be consistent. It's got to be consistent. You got to keep reminding yourself, Because remember, fine, you wanted to talk about, you said that if you really believe you're a loser, then it's subconscious. You can't fool yourself. And I said, yes, the way you do it is that you have to control what comes out of that mouth. And you learn that through consistent. If you teach a child early, remember back over here, I know you can't see it that well, but we have to work together as a team here. We have the stages of development. And when the child has the window of opportunity, remember, the window of opportunity is this critical period in everybody's life when the brain is most receptive to learning something or a skill. All right. Educational researchers like Jean Piaget, oh Lord, I said that wrong, Jean Piaget, or Erik Erikson, those guys came up with these developmental theories and stages. And I know people like to say, oh, that's just science. I don't believe in science. And I'm like, if you don't believe in science, how do you believe in the digestion? Like, how do you believe that your body goes through this whole digestion system that starts in your mouth and then goes down your esophagus and into your intestines and broken down and blah, blah, blah. How do you believe that? Okay. How do you believe that when it's digested, you burp and then you start to get hungry again? What's the process for that? If you don't believe in science, then you don't believe in science. But if you do, then you have to respect all the different areas of science. Okay. So with the stages of development here, and when you're supposed to have taught the child during their window of opportunity, and you were thinking they were so cute, they were too cute to have this hard learning. So you didn't want to teach them that. You don't want them to come home. And the first things that children says to me, my finger hurts. You see, when you get them writing, start to say that they complain, their fingers hurt. But it's not that it really hurts. It's just that they've never used the muscle. Imagine them in school and everything they're doing is just click, 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 right? Oh my gosh, our poor kids. So their finger hurt because, they come to me and I do that evaluation. They can't even write letters. They don't know the right direction for the letters. And when they write it, it's horrific, right? And so that's one of their complaints. And after a little time, when they realize Dr. Small is going to help them to align with their best version, the struggle ends because kids love to learn. They love to win. They want to win. But see, when they got used to losing and when they don't develop a good foundation, how are they going to win when the teacher introduces a new standard and the teacher now is starting here to evaluate or analyze? And they're still down here to understand. And then no parent, my mama don't want to invest in closing my gaps. I mean, it's one thing if your child is already in 12th grade and they had all these gaps and you decide, wow, I mean, it's one thing. I'm not saying it's still okay, but it's one thing. But how do you knowingly allow your child in 2nd grade when you already know they're struggling, they can't read, they can't even sound out their phonics letters sounds. They can't blend the two letters like BR, bruh, bruh, bruh. Okay? And they definitely can't go on to the SPL. Okay, I don't want to get in trouble by saying the wrong names of them, but you have the digraphs and the blends and the graphenes and stuff. And they're not doing that well. They're reading to you and they're stumbling over 3-letter words and they're only in 2nd grade. And then you allow that to pass. You register them in a summer camp where they're just going to play. I can't help but wonder, what do you call that? Do you really call that love? Remember we talked about the tennis players, and when you want somebody to fail, what you do? You don't help them to develop strength. You don't teach them new strategies. Like if you hit the ball that way, oh, it's going to go so close to the net, the other person will be able to touch it. So how do we call that love when we knowingly allow them to develop these mediocre skills that's going to align to a mediocre life? Only to later support them. Oh, I know why it's happening. It's because, oh, they have favorites and they have this. I don't care if that really happens. Maybe that does really happen. But the point is, even if that does happen, didn't you have a chance to reshape the trajectory that your life was heading in? How do you think that your child cannot read 3-letter words? When is it going to be fixed? You're talking to Dr. Small now, not somebody that doesn't know what they're talking about, not someone without a theory, not somebody who wrote the book on mindset. You're talking to Dr. Small. How do you ignore that? I'm going to do a little segue here because I remember something a friend said to me once. She's an educator, and trust me, we get on to talking, we get to talking, and we just go. One thing she says all the time, she says 5 years from now, she tells her parents, look at your child, and I want you to consider 5 years from now, 5 years from today, where's your child going to be? And then she says this thing that makes me laugh a little. She says they're going to have to get a suit. You're going to have to go get a suit, get fitted for a suit, she says. Because 5 years from today, you could be attending their court session. Because see, if you allow a kid to keep failing, okay, people don't like the truth. I know we don't always like the truth. But see, when you don't prepare them to succeed in life, look up here. What's their option when they get to the Great Divide? Even if they wanted to go on and further themselves, and remember, I never tell you that they have to go to college. I never do that because I know that entrepreneurship is a great thing. If they can find their passion in life and they can develop, that's awesome. But for you to allow them to get to the Great Divide, knowing that because you didn't invest in their education, they see their dream out there. They see the fruits in the top of the tree, but they can't reach them because you refuse to sacrifice that money to get them that academic enrichment. So you're saying that money is more important than giving your child life. That's what we're saying. Guys, there's no way around it. The truth is the truth. There is a way to save our children from the common disparity. We know where they're headed. There's no way you can have the lowest score and somehow miraculously, no, not unless they find their purpose. Because remember, that's fine. You could fail in school. And if somehow you're blessed enough to align with your purpose, then my goodness, that's a win. That's a win. That's a win. Okay? Now, because you know I'm all over the place, let's make sure I finished my thought over here when I said heart, mouth, brain. So we train our children to learn to speak where they're trying to go. You speak into the direction where you're trying to go. You want to succeed? You got to speak success. I don't care what you feel right here. It's what comes out of here that truly matters. It's hard because we're human, guys. We're human. So sometimes you're going to feel discouraged. You're discouraged. You're not sure if you're going to make it. You're not sure if it can happen. So I'm not trying to tell you that you're never allowed to feel down and discouraged. No way. I'm just saying when you feel it, you don't speak it. Because whatever you speak is what this structure will hear. And this is the structure that activates motion. That's the structure that does it. It activates motion. So once the children learn this, and remember, it's consistent. We're not talking about for 2 weeks you have this whole mindset enrichment, growth mindset festival where all the kids learn how to speak positively, and then you move on next week, 2 months from now, 2 years from now, it's unchecked. No, we're talking about a training system, a stronger foundation through the academic success plan for kids, which is on the other side. Through the academic success plan for kids, you train the child to learn how to set their mind to succeed. And when you do that during the window of opportunity, and we've got the system, we already got the system, it's already developed. Okay? We've already proven it. We have good evidence. We have people that's graduated already say that it works. I remember a kid said to me when I asked, why do you keep failing everything? Why do you keep failing? Because parents come to me for help. They come to me for help because I work with the whole family. I work with the child and I work with the parents. I keep the parents motivated and encouraged, because when the kid goes home and this takes over, when the amygdala goes into fight or flight, it's hard. I don't like it. Oh my gosh. Speaking of that, the parents that say to me, well, if my child likes it, then we'll continue. So you're saying to me, if your child that has cancer, if they don't like the taste of the treatment, they don't like the way the machine sounds because it's loud, they don't like the rough touch of one of the treatment, you're trying to tell me that you're going to take them away from that treatment and just let them die? You wouldn't do that. So when you come to a stronger foundation or a program like that, when you come to a program like that and your child starts to say, I don't like it, you pull them out even though you know that's the most ethical option for changing their direction. You see, I haven't shown you this much. What it is, I don't know if you can see it well, but it's a picture that shows a fork in the road. We come to forks in our lives where we have to make decisions. And those decisions are always made based on our resources. You want this amazing job. Are you qualified? A lot of times we even want the positions knowing that we're not the one that's qualified. We just want it because we want that handout. We deserve it. We've gone through a lot of stuff, Harriet. We've gone through a lot of stuff. We deserve this position because of what we've gone through, because of everything that's been taken from us. We deserve this opportunity. And if we don't get it, Harriet, we know why. It's because of the way we look. Harriet said no. She said, stop it. She said she didn't run through murky water, probably cut her foot so many times, all the injuries she probably had. She said that's not why she did it. She said she did it so that you all could have equal opportunity, and you do, right? You have equal opportunity because when you're born in the same hospital as any other person, any other culture person, same hospital. We don't have special hospitals anymore. We're born in the same hospital. We were born with the same number of neurons, in which I don't really want to get into the neuron conversation yet because I'm not there yet. But we are. We have the same neuron. You don't have Caucasian with one set of neurons, Spanish and blacks with a different amount of neuron. When you're infants, we're born with the same neuron. And if you're a neurosurgeon and I'm wrong, I apologize. Please correct me. And I'll correct it. But my point is, let's just say, you know what I'm trying to say. We're born with those same opportunities, the same, we have neurons. I don't see anywhere where it says if you're one race, you have more neurons when you're born. There may be other conditions that contribute to someone having less neuron, but not just because of the skin tone. That's my point. Okay. And I said I wasn't going to jump on neuron, but sometimes I do kind of forget where I was, but we're born with the neurons. And apparently, what happens is neurons that are not used up, because from your infant, you have a lot of, when you're infants, okay? I have a lot of neurons, and neurons that makes meaningful connections are sustained. Okay, they're sustained when they make meaningful connections, and the ones that are not, does not make meaningful connections, they are slotted off in a process that's called apoptosis. And again, that's one of those words that maybe I'm pronouncing incorrectly. I just call it apoptosis, okay? And it says in the book that I read this in, and I'll give credit, it was David Sosa, and it's called How the Brain Learns. I think the 2013 edition. And it says that apoptosis, this process is genetically programmed, okay? It's a genetic programming for pruning of unconnected neurons, so neurons that don't make connections, okay? By a certain time, if no connections are made, they're pruned off. The brain selectively strengthens and prunes connection based on the experience, okay? So the experience being if they made a connection or if they didn't make a connection, okay? The ones that made connection are gonna be strengthened. The one that did not make connections are gonna be slotted off. So if you're saying that some people have more brain cells than you, well, if you didn't make connection and if they didn't connect, I don't know, then that could be a contributing factor, because you use up the neuron when you start to get up this taxonomy. It requires a lot of brain cells, a lot of thinking. Remember, Mr. Lethargic guy is going to say, child, let's just relax and do the amygdala thing where we're afraid to try, because if we try and fail, he's going to throw our system off. Our hypothalamus is going to be like, what's happening here? Okay. So, yeah. So it says it's most intense between ages 3 and 12. Okay, connections that the brain finds to be useful and meaningful are preserved and they become permanent. Okay, and it says that this is most intense between ages 3 to 12, which aligns with the other theories, or you don't see it. I'm looking at the stages of development. And it lines back up with that, where age 2 to 11, you want to get it all in there as much as you want. And while you're getting it in, you better make sure you get this system right. Because you want your kids. You hear some kids, we don't hear a lot of kids saying, I can do all things. You really don't. Right? But you hear a lot of kids that's going to take the opposite and speak negatively and just continue to program themselves. And you program yourself to action. If you're saying, I can't, the brain is like, I guess I can't. I won't. One of the things we teach at Stronger Foundation, early on we teach them a chant, which I'm going to share, because remember, the goal is for our kids to win. And when they win, I win. That's the only way I win, is when our children win.